So, Claire, you are a bit of an elder statesperson, I suppose we could describe you in that way, at Portsmouth Football Club in the amount of years you've been here.
I think I am one of the golden oldies. Yeah, just over 15 years I've been with the club now. So started with the study centre and then sort of grown into the role where I am now.
I mean, you've been under several different guises, haven't you, while you've been here and in different places. So just take us through a few of those and how it progressed to where you are now.
Well, I started way back 2001 being a teacher at the Learning Centre, which was where the old Covers building was. Milan then decided to knock it down with his digger, which is one of the famous pictures. So we moved temporarily to a school, spent about 3 years at St Luke's. And then back in 2008, this place became available where we are now, which was at the time opposite the old head office. So we were lucky and raised a lot of funds and got some funding in and refurbished the whole place. And we've been here now since 2008. In the first administration, when the club moved back down to head office, there wasn't room for the community department. So they were, with a couple of days' notice, hastily moved into what was our library. So for a while, we sort of operated as two organisations, Pompey and the Community, which was the coaching department of the club, the Learning Centre, the study centre, and then the community department became a charity. And then eventually we sort of merged, and with the second administration, very quickly, we then started operating as one organisation. We are now Pompey and the Community, run under sort of four headings, mostly our coaching, education, health, and our inclusion work. And we've now got over 30 staff. And we're busy.
And you've been voted on to the Supporters Trust just for good measure?
I think it's basically to integrate everything that we do with what the club does now. You know, it's Pompey Community Football Club. It only makes sense to sort of bring all three arms together. And obviously the other parts as well, Pompey Ladies, the amputee, the cerebral palsy, all the disabled programmes that we run. And really just pull it all together, because one of the big faults, I think, over the 15 years since I've been here is communication. We're not a big club, but nobody talks to each other, and I think everybody is so busy doing what they do that communication is a challenge. So I think just being in the same room and talking is so important.
Has the perception of community changed as you've moved through the years?
I don't think it's moved in any direction. I think there's been ups and there's been downs.
Well, the fact that it's now a community club, so, you know, it used to be Portsmouth Football Club, and now everybody's taken on this idea of community. So does that make it easier or harder for you?
To be honest, it hasn't made any difference so far. And I think that's why I think it's important that I get onto the trust board, and we do make some differences. There's nothing visible on a match day to say that now we're a community club. You know, the club are very generous with the community tickets, but that's just one part of, you know, what we do, and I think there's so much more we could do. So no, it hasn't really made a difference yet, but I think it needs to, and that's kind of why I've taken the step of getting on board, and why the trust has embraced it and the club has embraced it.
Because you've been here in the good days, the dark days, and I suppose because you see the human side of life, it can sort of take you away from football a bit.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the dark days for the club are kind of almost like that war spirit, where being part of it and pulling together, you don't necessarily remember it in quite the same way as the fans do, because, you know, it's such a part of life. And all of those people that were sat there were colleagues, and a lot of the really dark times are dark for different reasons. And you know, as part of the community, we were held up as an example of best practice when we were in the Premier League for the way we integrated the players and the way, you know, we had our own reading scheme and we did some phenomenal things. So, you know, where people were saying, oh, now it's a community club, we're doing so much more. No, we're not. We've always done it. It's just not necessarily with the blessing of the club the way it is now. So there's so much we could do, and now with the support of the club and working together, we need to actually stop saying what we can do and actually get on and do it. And I think that's why I took the decision to, you know, stand for election to the Trust Board, because, you know, we should be doing things together in tandem, and that just will give us more understanding from the fans of what we do. And as I said during the whole campaign, it doesn't really matter to me whether it's Pompey in the Community, you know, Pompey Supporters Trust, Pompey Ladies, Pompey Football Club. As long as it's Pompey and we're doing it all for the right reasons, then it shouldn't really matter.
Nothing stands still, and as you say, you're on the Trust Board, and that is obviously to move things forward and make things more prosperous. So where would you like to see improvements in it all?
I think, as I say, just to join things up, so the trust is there, and people understand what it's for. Because obviously, for a long while, it was about saving the club and making the club sustainable and still existent. So now it's giving it more an identity. That trust have a presence on a match day, and that we're actually making a difference. So offering more to the family sections, making sure that those community tickets are going to the right kids, and that's really valued, and that we shout about it, and perhaps even something so when those youngsters arrive, there's something saying, we want you here and we're expecting you here, so something special. We did the Kids Match Day programme, and that's been really well received, and they love that. But I think as a kiddie, and everybody loves freebies, if there's things that we can do to really make them feel invited and welcome, and we want them to come again. Youngsters now won't see Pompey on the television. So the only way they'll experience that Fratton Park experience is to come in and see it. And I think, if we give tickets to a kiddie with their school team, that's one thing. But if we give it to a kiddie so they can come with dad for the first time, or mum or granddad, that's when they're likely to come again. So that's really what we've got to work on, because we've got to get those stadiums full, and those kids are the fans of the future. Because you look around, I was looking at the queue, funnily enough, for the match on Saturday, and it's all sort of over 50s men. So we've got to change the dynamic, we've got to change that, and get the kids coming again. Because there's some, but there's not many.